it reminded me of the rabbit hole that you recently have gone down when it comes to the so-called progressive anti-abortion uprising, which is an anti-choice group. You guys might remember this group because one of its leaders, Lauren Handy, was found with 5 fetuses in her home. And then the entire group just did a press conference where they said, no, we have 115
we
fetuses.
got more.
We got a lot more fetuses.
We had many more fetuses in the bathroom. They're British, right?
Yes, they are, obviously. And Liz and Abortion AF and Feminist Buzzkill, you guys have been talking about this, and it's just so insane because I haven't seen that many investigations on this, like deep dives into this. So I was relying, and I think a lot of us have been relying on you and your work and your awesome podcast to sort of bring us up to speed. What have you learned since all this? And like, what the fuck is the fallout been? Like, is there any punishment for stealing fetuses?
Well, there's a lot going on with this story, right? And so when it's still unclear where the fetuses came from, because the manifest from the medical waste company that took them said they didn't come from us. The fact that there was this box of 110, and by the way, when you pick up medical waste from any kind of clinic, there's like gauze and syringes and tissue and all of it, right? So there's footage where there's stuff in the boxes, and the 5 larger fetuses were probably from, we don't know where they were from, but they were probably from either stillbirths or they were stolen from research labs. The cops, who they turned themselves in, but not before they passed around these fetuses to a bunch of other anti-abortion organizations, one of which called Survivors of the Abortion Holocaust. And they did an unboxing video.
Oh my God.
They did an unboxing video on Facebook, which I don't know why it wasn't taken down. But and then they go on demanding autopsies. And it's like, if you gave a shit about these fetuses, the second they came into your possession, they kept saying that they circumvented them. You stole them.
Circumvented.
You
reappropriated.
You would turn them over to someplace. But there's a lot going on, right? So how we talk about it's crucial, because part of it is they want all of us to be outraged and say things like, well, if they're stealing bodies, then they should be sued for yada yada. And it's like, if we define these things as people and persons,
right?
Yeah,
that means that they're waiting for us. Because truth be told, when people file briefs before the court and stuff, they will take every comment from everyone and have an amicus brief that says, look, there is 100,000 people that commented on this video that also believe that fetuses are people and should have the same rights as people. So we have to be careful, right? So
they'll use it against reproductive rights.
See, I would just be like, no, it's not a person. That's my property. Give me back my fetus.
Well, I mean, truth be told, like for anybody who's had a miscarriage or later in pregnancy, or had to have an abortion later in pregnancy, to have these fetuses, and especially if they said we stole these on this day from this place, and you're a person who had an abortion there or had to maybe go there to have help to miscarry a fetus that was still, whatever your situation is, and you would have to even think for a second, I wonder if that is from me.
Yeah, awful.
Mortifying. And then they're like, we demand autopsies to find out why these babies were aborted. And it's like, A, stop saying babies, but B, if somebody had to terminate a pregnancy because the pregnancy was literally killing them, you will not find anything out from a fetus about the person who needed to terminate the pregnancy. And lastly, they said we gave them a proper burial,
which they won't reveal where that was.
Well,
correct?
First of all, who are you to properly bury anything? Who are you to decide if somebody isn't, some priest is like literally, if you're Muslim, have no faith, whatever, ain't nobody got time for your bullshit proper burial. And also, if they're going by their words and their logic, you have buried 110 like products of conception in a mass grave. It just seems gross. You're gross. They're gross.
Yeah, without giving them.
And then they hold a press. You guys, this got so weird. And you
So
don't
weird.
even know the
So
weirdest
weird
part.
fucking
But
story.
wait, so then they had a press conference, which we attended. We attended the press conference, and they pull some woman out of to speak who said, and you don't know this, but the name of the company, and I can't remember, it's like, I don't know, Bob Anderson's Medical Waste, says on their website that they use fetal remains to keep the lights running and the power on in the city of Baltimore.
What?
That's amazing, dude. We should have more abortions if that's what fetal remains can do.
Let me tell you what. I mean,
the renewable energy is fetal remains. Like, that's what they think. That's what they think.
But I'm all for, like, if I'm all for that, if that's the case. But also, there's not enough abortions to charge an iPhone. So stop it.
Yeah.
So just stop it. And so this organization is part of these clinic invasions that are called Red Rose Rescues. And this is really the heart of it. So right before all of this, we discovered these fetuses and then turned them over to the cops and then made up this crazy story. They have been involved in these rescues, which are people that invade clinics and then chain themselves to chairs and they won't leave, and they terrorize the patients and they terrorize the staff. And this started in the 80s, in the bad old days before there was any kind of laws against it. And so in the 90s, something called the FACE Act, which is the Freedom to Access Clinic Entrances Act, that's what FACE stands for, was invented specifically for abortion clinics because these people were terrorizing people and blocking entrances. And it's a federal offense. First time it's a federal misdemeanor. Second time it's a felony. And these people have been doing it in states over and over and over again. And states that are sort of where you get judges who are not who are sympathetic to their cause. So they wouldn't bring the FACE violation up. Well,
interesting.
In 2020, they did a clinic invasion at Washington Surgical Center, which is where they said they were intercepted the fetal remains. And they were busted and charged on FACE violations. And in 2 years, they have been arrested. They could go to jail for 11 years, 12 years, and they could have to pay up to $500,000 fine. Wow. So they're terrified. And I don't know how many other violations are coming down the pike. But her mentor, who stood next to her at this press conference, this Lauren Handy you speak of, is a woman who is part of an organization called the Army of God, which is the most anti-abortion extremist movement. There's an incredible HBO documentary called Soldiers in the Army of God. Okay. And she is responsible for, she was at a clinic that was bombed. She signed on to a doctrine that said that it is part of God's will and God will forgive you if you kill an abortion doctor in the name of saving other lives. And it's terrifying. It's terrifying what they're doing. And so just to frame it for you, those of us who have done a bunch of research on this feel that this fetus distraction of circumventing fetuses off a truck and doing all this stuff is to divert from your federal charges. Yes. So when you're stealing fetuses to throw the scent off of your federal charges of terrorizing clinics, your movement's garbage.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just want
to do this to save the movement. I mean, I didn't even know about their federal charges until I heard about the case.
Yeah.
So for folks like, whatever, who care about this stuff or who are more sympathetic, it's actually done. It's not gone in their favor, even though, yes, we have to be careful how we talk about, the fetal remains being like, humans or whatever. But it's like, I was like, oh shit, there's the FACE Act, like that helped. There are these laws. And thank God we have Ketanji Brown Jackson. We need to expand the courts, but thank God we have someone who at one point in their career, although what's her bucket, Marsha Blackburn tried to hold it against her, helped rule in the favor of people seeking to terminate pregnancies against people who were threatening them, and like helped create that, like, or helped defend those the zones, the buffer zones.
Yeah. And I would just like to just put a fine point on that for real too, because what the anti-abortion movement and the Marsha Blackburns of the world, when they like to portray these praying people as non-threatening people.
Right.
And I just want to be very clear that there are the, white bros out there with big giant signs out there protesting, screaming, horror, horror, horror. And then there's the people who are praying, who are telling you that you're going to go to hell if you have an abortion, quietly and having their rosaries. And I'm here to remind people that if you're a person of faith or you're from a small faith community and you're going to have an abortion and you already have some conflict about that, the person that is doing more damage is the person who looks at you while you're going to have your abortion and says, you are going to hell for the rest of your life. And just because that person doesn't seem as threatening as the guy who's screaming horror at you, that person actually has more of an impact and is more terrorizing and more threatening on almost every level. Yeah. So I just want to be really clear when we think about that. And when Marsha Blackburn likes to bring that shit up, like, it's like, really, Marsha Blackburn? Because I think that is taking religion and being about as disgusting as you can with it.
What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Do it.